Hello, my loves. Guess who's back? Oh, I have so much to share with you of things that have happened over the last, since my last live, honestly. Since my last live that I did, Wednesday, talking about trauma healing and parts work and integration and all that good stuff. I actually have something to share that's happened since then that will be of high value just to listen to this broadcast. So for those of you on TikTok, I am streaming on YouTube. So if you want to go back and listen to this and fully, you can find it on my YouTube channel. For those of you who are just finding me for the first time, I am Johanna Burkhardt. I am a multidimensional channel, teacher, healer, and author. And my mission is to help you to come into balance with your mind, body, and spirit, to move out of anxiety, fear, inner conflict, and into harmony with your soul's journey so you can enjoy being here, even when the world seems to be burning down all around us. So I would love for you to give this a share, comment, let me know where you're watching from. And if you're catching the replay, hashtag it replay so I can show you some love and appreciation for even watching to begin with. Because with any live I give, there's always going to be a lot of value. So there's a lot of good things that you will be able to take away from this broadcast. I also want to mention, for those of you who missed it, my brand new sacred container, 3-month sacred container, Soulvation, Becoming Your Own Salvation. The cart is open. It will close next Friday, but there is a fast action bonus. So if you pay in full and sign up before Saturday at midnight Pacific time, you will receive 2 90-minute sessions with me. That is a $666 value in itself that you can use before or during the course of our time together in Soulvation. So I'll be dropping a link to that shortly. But first, I want to share some value and also offer an opportunity for you guys to ask me questions about Soulvation, if you have any at all, about the program, about prerequisites, any questions that you might have, feel free to drop them along the way. So in my last live, I talked about the integration of parts work, right? How we have an inner child collective, how we have protector personalities, how we have ego personalities. There's all these different aspects of ourself, and that integration is really the true healing that we're here to do. That's the multidimensional part of us. We can integrate the greater aspects of ourself, like our higher self, like the versions of us that are actually our guides. And we can integrate our inner children collective, our ego personalities. And even though we are whole, and I want to preface that, we are whole and complete always. The reason why we don't feel whole is because anytime we suppress or repress a part of ourselves because there's something that we don't want to experience, there's something that we don't want to feel, we push that part of ourselves away. And with repetition of pushing that part of ourselves away, we actually fragment. And this can happen with any type of trauma, big T, little t, anything really. And we push that part of ourselves away, and that part of ourselves actually develops its own entity. It develops its own personality. It's oftentimes why people feel like they have entities attached to them, because really 9 times out of 10, it's actually an aspect of them. It's a shadow version. And the other big thing that I talked about on the last live, which is ironic because this is exactly why I'm here today to talk about this again, is that a lot of us fear uncertainty. We want to know what's next for us. We want to know, what's going to happen next. I want to plan 5 steps ahead, 5 years ahead, next week. Am I going to be safe? Is the money going to come? Am I going to be able to pay the bills? Is this relationship going to work out? Am I going to get the job? Is the job going to stay? Is the money going to last? Whatever it is, right? We're always projecting our energy into the future, trying to keep ourselves safe, trying to feel safe, find that sense of safety and security and stability by seeking this outside of our being. And what I shared on my last live was that uncertainty is really the fear of what is in your own basement. which is your unconscious, your shadows. It's really the fear of feeling what may be lurking in your unconscious basement. And that's really important for us to hear again, because we're never afraid of anything. We are always afraid of feeling everything. So I'm going to say that again. You're not afraid of anything. We're never afraid of anything. We're afraid of feeling everything. And that is the root of the fear of uncertainty, why we worry, why we're projecting our energy into the future, why we're seeking control and safety and stability and security outside of us through our home, our car, our job, our business, money, relationships, food, whatever it is, whatever your thing is that you are dependent upon or use as a coping mechanism to feel safe, to feel secure, to feel in control of your life. And the very first thing that any of us hear when we start this self-awareness journey, the spiritual awakening, whatever you want to call it, personal development, is it's all within us, right? It's all within you. Everything's within you, that you don't need things outside of you. And that's true, but rarely do people actually tell you how to work within you. And it's not just shadow work, by the way. Shadow work is a part of working within you. But working within you is working with your inner family, the other aspects of you. And that is the true healing that we are here to do. So for me, I shared how I had an inner child who was kind of ruling me since I jumped on what I call Faith Airlines and, put everything in storage and decided to live the nomad lifestyle. And I shared, if you want to go back to that live, you can listen to it. I shared what happened and everything that kind of what I learned doing that, right? That really testing my nervous system, really testing the work that I've been doing to heal. And I shared. And interestingly enough, so Tuesday in my YouTube membership, I offered an ancestral healing. And after that, even though I was the facilitator of that ancestral healing, I could feel what I was, I could feel I was receiving in addition to facilitating. Let me take a drink. So I noticed that the next day, Wednesday, the day that I went live, I was in, because this is what happens, right? And this is a perfect example. You go, you get energy healing done. You listen to a podcast, you listen to me, you do a meditation, you do something that puts you the next day, you're feeling lighter and you're feeling free and you are in such a high vibration, you're in such a high frequency, you're feeling really good, you're on top of the world. That's how I felt Wednesday. Even though I was purging, right? Even though I was purging from the healing that I had facilitated. And by purging, I mean I was having physical releases from my body. But I felt on top of the world, which was great because I knew I needed to go live and I knew I needed to share about my new experience, Soulvation. And it was best that I was in a good place, right? Nobody wants to work when you're feeling like shit or feeling in a low frequency. So I felt amazing all day. Thursday, yesterday, I woke up and I just knew. I knew. I knew the moment I opened my eyes, it was going to be one of those days where I was going to be in the dumps, emotional, exhausted, purging, resistant, all of those things. And I was. It took me forever to get up. And when I finally did, I was in a mood. I was irritable. I was in resistance to everything. And my girlfriend sent me a TikTok last night that sums it up. Mental illness when you're self-aware is crazy because When you're having a mental breakdown, or when you're having that moment of resistance, or when you're having that emotional purging, or the resistance with your inner child, or that inner conflict within you, it's not that because you're self-aware that it doesn't happen anymore, that you don't have those moments or those issues. It's not that that ends. It's that you're very aware of what you're going through while you're in it. That is what it's like. You are hyper aware that you are in a spiral, or that what's happening to you. So it's like you are the ultimate observer of your own destruction. So I went through the process that I go through when I know I'm going through an integration. And that's what I want to come on here and talk about today, is what they don't tell you about integration. What the people that I've seen, listened to, not that there's not ones out there that do, I'm sure there are, I just haven't seen them. But I want to share what I don't feel like is shared about integration. When we think about the word integration, in my mind, I see a puzzle piece being put in its perfect place. I see that piece like going into that place to where it's smooth, right? And the hole, the void, the lack, which the separation is no longer there. But integration is a process. And the very first piece of integration is letting go. And letting go is when you let go of control and you allow yourself to feel everything. So, yesterday began the process of integrating that unruly inner child who is deathly afraid of uncertainty and who has been kind of wreaking havoc in my life, trying to be in control of everything. And so, yesterday I spent the day letting go of my resistance, allowing myself to get to the place where I could finally cry and purge and just let it all out. And I had a reminder of something that I shared back in December when I went through another core wound that I integrated in December, and that took 3 days. That was 3 days of some hard core purging and integrating. Yesterday, and I want to talk about this because I don't feel like it's talked about enough. Yesterday, as I was going through my letting go and being there, I started to have suicidal thoughts. Now, I have to talk about this because we don't think of people who are leaders in this, influencers in this industry, people who have been sharing and teaching and healing for this long, to be someone that would have suicidal thoughts. But having the thought and believing the thought or acting out on the thought are very different things. But this is something that has happened to me multiple times. And the worst one was the one that I had in December. And I actually shared that in one of my memberships, but that was probably the most scariest one. But yesterday I noticed that I was having suicidal thoughts again. I was deep, the feelings that I was letting go of, the feelings that I was allowing to lift from my basement, that I opened that basement door and allowed to come up to feel. Because when you let go, again, you're unlocking the door of your basement and you're allowing those emotions to be felt fully. The energies that I was feeling were apathy, hopelessness. This is never going to end. It's never going to work out. Those are things that I was letting go of. That aspect of me, that 10-year-old inner child was feeling. It's not that I was consciously feeling that way or that I didn't want to be here anymore. No, it was that I was holding space for an inner child, my 10-year-old version of me, who legit had feelings of wanting to die. But here's the thing. It literally, you guys, it feels like death. It feels like you want to die. And that is why I believe that so many teens and young adults, or anyone really, when they are not discerning that it's an aspect of them, a version of them, a personality that is no longer serving them, that their soul no longer wants to be, when they can't discern that that's what's wanting to die, I feel like a lot of people actually commit suicide. I think a lot of people actually act out on it because they don't have the awareness or the discernment that it is an aspect of them dying. And this is my opinion. I don't have any evidence of this other than my own evidence of what I've been through. And actually, and some clients that have gone through some similar that have worked with me in parts work. So yesterday I spent a good part of the day working my purification process, holding space for myself, listening to the thoughts of this 10-year-old version of me, feeling the feelings that she legit felt and not judging them, just allowing them. And this is not an easy process. And it's not always this extreme, but when you start working with your deeply rooted core wounds, when I say core wounds, I mean wounds that that traumas that happened in the first 7 years, traumas that were imprinted in your soul while you were in the womb, energies that you chose to take on in your divine blueprint to work through in this life that could have been you having another look, another perspective from another lifetime. Any of those things. So yesterday, that's how I felt. I felt like I wanted to die. And I knew, because I've been doing this work long enough, that it was a part of me. But here's the thing, it's not really death. When you understand, I could sit there and have the communication with that aspect of myself that she wasn't dying, that she was going home. She was going home. She was coming into my heart space. She was coming in. I was letting her in. She would always become and be a part of me in a way that she wasn't before. So I had to do my process that I will be teaching in Soulvation that allowed her to trust me enough to fully allow me to feel, know, hear her perspective. What she felt, what she thought, to be understood so that I could have the utmost compassion and empathy for her in a way that she did not receive when she was going through the trauma at that age. And the trauma that I'm speaking of in my case was abuse in multiple levels, different types of abuse and neglect and abandonment. So this was a very big core wound that was rooted very deeply. You're going to have probably 2 to 3 major core wounds. Everybody has about 2 to 3 major core wounds. And I call those the trees, right? That's the trunk. It's the trunk or the root of the tree. And the different stories and the different unserving patterns of our life is like the tree branches. And then from that tree branches, there's going to be even more separation off of that. And those are going to be the leaves. So the branches of the trees are the different ways it shows up in our relationships, in our finances, in our business, in our body, in our illness, whatever. All the different ways. And the leaves are going to be all the different limiting beliefs, all the different fragments of us that kind of spurt off of that. So often when you guys are doing shadow work and healing work, you're plucking a leaf off or you're healing a branch. And then when you come back around and you're like, shit, I thought I healed this. What you're not realizing is there's so many layers. And so as you delayer, you start to get to the trunk of that trauma, that core wound. And this is when it starts to get super intense. So yesterday I spent the day doing my process, allowing myself to go through this. And by evening, I had moved through the majority of that and had shifted. My energy began to naturally shift into the next emotional frequency on that scale. And while I was exhausted, I was starting to feel that relief lift. And by the time I went to bed, I was actually in a much better energy and I slept really good last night. And when I woke up this morning, I felt like a completely different person. But that doesn't mean that I completely integrated that part of me. And this is why I want to talk about what they don't tell you about integration. What I went through yesterday was the first part of integration. It was me opening up that door of my basement and letting myself feel and letting go, right? Letting myself feel, letting myself hold space for a part of me, letting myself come into understanding and compassion. I didn't have judgment. I wasn't condemning myself. I wasn't beating myself up. I wasn't, was I annoyed that I felt that way? Of course, but I was allowing it. But here's the thing. The next day after you do that, you're going to feel really good. And I'm sure all of you have had that feeling where you had a really shitty day and you cried all day. The next day you felt great, right? Because you purged. But do you know that most people reinstall the old trauma? They reinstall it because we have something that's called muscle memory. So even if you let you let yourself feel the emotions and you allow it to come into your heart space and you let go of control, it's like the best example I can give is if you drive to your local grocery store. You could probably do it in your sleep, right? Because you've done it so many times. You don't think about it. You get in your car and you go, and by the time you get there, you didn't even remember where you went because you're so used to doing it. Again, you could probably do it in your sleep because it's a muscle memory. Your body, your energy knows how to get there without cognitively having to be like, we have to turn left here. We have to do this. We have to follow the directions. It doesn't need directions. It inherently knows. It's a muscle memory. Just because you let go, just because you allowed yourself to feel, doesn't mean that that muscle memory goes away. It doesn't mean that the muscle memory of the old behaviors based upon lack, limitation, and separation, based upon that fragment, are not still there. They are. And that is why most people reinstall their limiting beliefs, their old trauma-based programming that is rooted in a dysregulated nervous system of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, also known as people-pleasing. And they go back and find themselves in the same shit again, except usually the next time it's probably going to be even more intense, mainly because you're in resistance because you thought you healed it. The key, once you let go and allow yourself to feel, is now the next day when you feel good, you have to now act differently. You have to be present and aware enough to notice your muscle memory and to be able to choose and say, no, we don't have to think this way anymore. No, we don't have to behave this way anymore. We don't have to do that because we're not that person anymore. And the reason why so many people miss this awareness is because they're feeling good and the thoughts are not as intense. The feelings are not as intense. The obsessive thoughts are gone because you have felt and let go of that emotional pressure. And as I told you guys on the last live, your obsessive thoughts and limiting beliefs are rooted in the pressurizing of what you have repressed or suppressed into your subconscious and unconscious basement. So your limiting beliefs, your negative thoughts, your obsessive thinking, all anxiety, control issues are all rooted and can get extremely loud and extremely uncomfortable. This is when we experience really bad anxiety, depressive disorders, overwhelm, nervous breakdowns, because of the repressing or suppressing of a feeling that you don't want to feel. So once you felt that, there's no longer the pressure. So the thoughts aren't as loud. The awareness isn't as neon sign as it would be when the pressure is on. And so it can be very easily reintegrated and re-implemented, reinstalled. It's like a virus, right? If you run a shitty virus software, or let's just say you run a really good virus software and you remove the virus from your computer, but then you go back to the site that had the virus because you're not paying attention and you didn't learn, what happens? You just reinstall the shit again. That's what we're doing. So you have to learn to be present, truly mindful. That's what presence is truly being mindful of your mind, body, and energy, and have the awareness of, whoa, okay, here I am. I'm at this crossroads again. This is what I normally do. I normally turn left. I normally behave this way. I normally react this way. I normally feel this way. I normally buy into this. And you have to catch yourself at that crossroads and go, I need to go this way. I need to operate this way. Because here's the thing about energy. It cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only change form. So you're never really letting go of a program or a belief. You're only replacing it. So either you're going to reinstall it or you're going to replace it with another serving behavior. And that's something that people don't tell you. Yes, we have to feel it to heal it. But once you feel it, now you have to be able to take the wisdom that remains after shedding the story. So we release the story when we feel it, and what remains is the wisdom. If I was to do this again, what would I do differently? If this was to happen again, what would I do differently? That is where the wisdom lies. And now we have to operate based upon that wisdom. And we have to operate upon that wisdom until it becomes the new program, until it becomes our new automatic way of living. And what I'm sharing, what I'm sharing right now is very valuable. And if you just implement this, you're going to see progress. Now, I'm not going to, obviously, I don't have time to tell you my process, because that's the reason why I'm having a 3-month sacred container to take you through it, to take you through exactly what I do and what works for me and tweak it to help it work for you, because this is something that you will use for the rest of your life. Healing is a journey. If you're waiting for the world to look better, to feel better, it's not going to happen. If you're waiting for the money to feel better, to be different, to have your life better, it's not going to happen. If you're waiting for the relationship, the job, the business, the clients, it's not going to happen. It starts with you first, because we are the projectors. Again, Tesla says 369, your frequency, which is in your basement, creates an emotion, which is the transportation. And that emotion sends out a signal, which is 9, the vibration. And that is what creates the reality that you're experiencing at any given moment. So you have to work on what's in your basement. You have to change the way that you feel and operate in order to see that change in your reality. Because what if the world never gets better? What if it just gets worse? I mean, seriously, what if the world just gets worse? What if you never make the money that you think that you need to make to be happy? What if you never find the relationship that you think you need to be happy? What if you never land the job? What if your business never reaches that success that you expect it to? Do you think that you could enjoy your life still? Do you think that you could still be happy? Find peace? Because you can. How you see the world is a lens of perception. There is only one truth. And when you understand and when you come from the soul's perspective, you will understand that truth isn't really a real thing. It's only everything is perspective. When you understand and come from the soul's lens, you will understand that everything is perspective. So you might be looking at it this way. Someone else might be looking at it this way. Someone else might be looking at it from this angle. Someone else might be looking at it from this angle. Someone else might be looking at it from this angle. And that's why everybody's like, oh, that's not true. It's like, no, they're just looking at it from a different advantage point, from a different perspective. The color of their lenses is tinted by what is hiding in their unconscious basement. They're seeing through lack, separation, limitation, abundance, joy, peace. Some might be operating from their small self, from their inner children or ego personalities. Some might be looking from their grander self, from their higher self, from their other versions of themselves that we'll call their guides. So everyone's perspective is their truth because that's where they are. That's how they're seeing the world based upon what is in their basement. And this is why I always tell people you're always manifesting. Of every minute of every day, you are always manifesting. What you're manifesting is up to you. Are you manifesting more lack, limitation, and separation? Or are you manifesting abundance, peace, joy? That's up to you. Based upon what you focus on. And you will always focus on what is repressed in your basement. So if you can clean out your basement, or at least know how to clean out your basement so that your sustained frequency is that of what you want it to be, your life will change. This is why I say you can do manifesting techniques, right? You can do people, I mean, let's just be real. The manifesting and law of attraction industry is $1 billion industry. You want to know why? Because they can teach you and promise you 1 million different ways to manifest. But will you sustain what you receive? People win the lottery all the time and go broke. People have a one-hit wonder and go broke. People manifest the relationship only to sabotage it. People land the amazing job only to sabotage it. Why? Because they have not reached a state of being inside of them that allows them to sustain that thing. Because what they're manifesting lives on a frequency where they don't. So they can go up to the 10th floor, get off the elevator, and visit and have an experience, right? Manifest the money, manifest the thing. But then the majority of their time, they reside on the 3rd floor or the 4th floor, and they can't sustain it. They can't live here full time. And because of that, they lose it. The key to manifesting is your ability to sustain the frequency of that in which you are seeking. And all of that is rooted in what is in your unconscious basement. And again, while we bring it full circle to integration is the key. And if you want to feel stable and you want to feel safe and you want to feel secure and you want to be allowing and have a life where you look through the lens of optimism, of hope, of peace, of abundance, of gratitude, you got to work with integrating those parts of you. You got to know how to do this work. You have to become your own salvation by learning how to work with the fragments of your consciousness within your soul. That is the key. And so I want to open this up to questions for anyone who has any questions about Soulvation. Soulvation, again, is not a digital course. It is a 3-month sacred container where each week we will rotate between having a class that will be up to 2 hours in length. And the next week we will be doing a community call, which is coaching, where we will be working through any blocks, limitations, struggles that you are going through. We'll be tweaking it to fit things to work in the way that you need them to, tailoring things. You will have 2 different lifelines of support, 2 different forms of chat to reach me directly and to the community. Because in order to come into stability and safety within you, you have to have a mix of risk and safety. And the risk is you being vulnerable, you taking this leap, you being vulnerable and being able to be seen and heard by fellow peers that are going through the same thing. And the safety is knowing that you're going to be in a space where you're not judged, where you have a support system, where you have somebody who has been in your shoes, who knows what you're going through, and who will help you. That's key. So Soulvation is this 3-month experience. Like I said, that has those. It is going to be spirit led because I am a channel but I know for sure we will be going over and introducing my quantum embodiment technique, which is a very simple way to work with the fragments of yourself in a way where you can truly allow them to speak, to be seen, to be felt, to be understood. We will be working with energy management because this is going to expand your awareness. So you will, if not already, be experiencing what we call ascension symptoms, which can be uncomfortable and feel like physical body ailments. We'll be learning how to work with coping skills because those are needed at times. There's times when you are going to need healthy coping skills. We want healthy coping skills. We're going to be learning to work with our auric field and really learning our bodies, which if you just read my article that I just posted about healing burnout and adrenal fatigue, if you don't know how to read your body, it's a game changer. We're going to be working with physical and energetic boundaries. We're going to be working with learning the true way of holding space. A lot of people don't understand what really holding space looks like. And so much more. This will be a transformational experience if you implement what I'm teaching and show up. And I will say this, if you're somebody who just wants to be a wildflower and watch from the sidelines, this is not for you because you're not going to ever have true healing until you take the risk of being seen and heard and putting yourself out there and being vulnerable, because that is true intimacy. Into me, I see. So if you can't let yourself in to see you or let people see you that are in a safe container, how are you ever going to truly let your spouse in, your kids in, yourself in? You have to have courage and be brave. Now, this context and information is private. It won't be made public. Nobody will see it except for those that are in the container. And you will have access to this material for the rest of your life. You can download it, save it, and always come back to it. And it will be tools and skills that you will use forever. So if you have any questions about this, I'm going to look at these messages on TikTok in just a second. If you have any questions about this, please post them right now or PM me, email me. I'm very personable and I will answer you. Questions about this experience, if it's for you, whatever the case may be. I'm not going to do free readings, or it's not for you to dump your problems on me. Sometimes that happens. I'll get an 85 word I'll get like 85 paragraph posts about what they're going through. I don't need that. That's not what I'm going to be doing. But if you want to know if this is for you, or if you want to have even questions about this experience, I am more than happy to discuss that with you. And we have a payment plan that is pretty reasonable to really help you guys, because I wanted it to be attainable. But I also wanted it to be enough investment that you're going to put your money where your mouth is and you're going to do the work. Because if you don't do the work, what's the point of doing it at all, really? But this is what's worked for me. And it's something that I will use forever. And I finally have been able to put it together in a way that I think is going to make it simple and easy and practical for our human lives. And that is what's important. Okay. Corey says, what you teach is beautiful and it works. Thank you. You're so welcome. Thank you for sharing that. Let me see. We have a lot of comments on TikTok. So let me see if I can answer any of those. That is a big mug. I drink mud water, so I need a big mug. I had death thoughts too. Deep ones. Yeah. And that's a real thing that I was thinking about yesterday, because I've had this experience so many times because I've integrated so many of my, wounds, traumas. And the common thread is every time I went through the letting go, I had the thoughts of death. I had the suicidal thoughts. And the one in December, without going too into it, was so intense that I was working with a therapist at the time who could hold space for me when I couldn't hold space for myself. And I had to message her, text her out of session and be like, listen, this is what I'm going through. This is what I know, this is what I'm going through, but these thoughts are really intense and I need a lifeline right now. I had to ask for help. I had to reach out and be like, I need you to stay with me and be in contact with me because this one is big and it's intense. And it really made me realize that I think that there is a lot of people out there who have these thoughts and are not in the awareness that it's a part of them that's integrating, it's a part of them that's dying, and they actually believe it and take their own life. And that is their soul's choice. If you guys have followed me for any amount of time, you know that we have an exit date when we come into this human experience, and we have off ramps along the way. And we can choose the path of least resistance to exit this game on any of those off ramps. And sometimes suicide is one of those off ramps. And so it is a soul's choice. And usually that comes in when the separation and fragmentation is so strong that it's too far gone. And so just sharing this in general might be something that saves someone's life, because they might have that experience and think, oh, I wonder if a part of me is dying and I can just hold on a little bit longer and get through it. At least that's what I would hope if someone's listening to this and who's having those thoughts, they will second guess them and they will hold on a little bit longer and work through it. So that's what I wanted to come on and share today, because, now the real work for me begins. I have to change the way that I think. I have to not respond to the thoughts. I have to continue to be gentle with myself. I have to change my behaviors. I have to be in that state of awareness so that I install the new programming and not reinstall the old trauma response and allow that trauma to linger by bringing it back in and allowing it to begin to grow again to where it builds up to the next point of explosion. And we have to go through this all over again. I would rather me go through it again with a different wound than the same wound on repeat, because that shit sucks, just to be frank. So anyway, if you are on TikTok, the link to learn more about this experience is in my profile. And I just posted the link in the comments of my YouTube and Facebook Live. So once again, as a reminder, there is a, oops, it's not posting on Facebook. So I'll have to go and post it. Maybe it did. I don't know. I'll have to check and I'll reshare it. Anyway, what was I going to say? That distracted me. Oh, reminder, there is a fast action bonus. So if you want to secure those 2 bonus 90-minute one-on-one sessions with me, then it's a full price purchase by Saturday, which is tomorrow, midnight Pacific time. That fast action bonus ends. I will also be adding, I didn't even tell you guys. Oh my gosh. So something that I have decided to do is I have ways to identify what your core wounds are, and am able to share with you some of your major core wounds of your divine soul contract. So when you join, I will be asking for certain information for you, and I will be giving you guys reports that will actually have not only what your divine contract, your divine blueprint, the core wounds that you decided to work through in this lifetime in your divine blueprint, but also the amino acids and hormones that help to balance those to support you while you're healing, which includes the different kinds of foods you can even eat. And it will give you, I will be giving you deeper insight into the wound and on ways to which to work with that wound. So that information alone is super valuable. So that will be a new part of this experience that I've decided to add in, because as I was sitting yesterday, I thought, you know what? I know what my core wounds are. I know what's in my divine blueprint. I know what I chose to take on. And I think it's super helpful to have that information. So I want to bring that piece into this experience as well. So I need to update my sales page to show that, and I will, but I wanted to add that in before I wrap up today. So I hope this live was valuable to you. I hope that you found something in this to be valuable. Please share this with someone that you feel might benefit from listening to it. And I am so happy and so excited for those of you who are going to be joining this experience. And I can't wait to get started. Our first welcome call will be on Monday, the 27th, and it will just be a short welcome call. It won't be on for super long. And then we will get started with our first class the first week of July after the 4th, so that, you know, people can show up. We're going to give people time to share with me the best time that will work for them to be live, because being live in the container is super important part of this element. So we will do our best to pick a time that will meet as many people's needs as possible. All right. So thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.